All right, hello everyone. You can hear all the horns behind us. This is Jeff with Citizens Media TV, and we are at a Trump rally. This is a very Trump-supportive area, and I am here with my new friend, Gary.
Don't use last names.
Gary. I met him at the previous rally. We started talking, had a really nice talk, totally disagree on many, close to all things. But I enjoy talking with him. We talk on Twitter. So, Gary, you are the first person I'm here to talk to. Why don't you tell us where we are and whatever you like?
Well, first off, I want to tell everyone, all my friends on the right, they should consider following Citizens Media TV. We know that 90% of the media is biased and whatnot, and we may disagree with the viewpoints of Citizens Media, but they do give you the opportunity to put your viewpoints out, and that's all we can expect from journalists. In fact, they're probably more journalists, these guys, than the journalists that we know. And I ask my friends on the right, like Kel, Two Rivers, MTNSS on Twitter, and Kofi, Trump is Magna, at Jesse, and Sandra Griffin, and Andrew, and Deplorable Jessica. I ask my friends on the right to consider following this Citizens Media, and I ask all my friends on the right to at least listen to them. It's amazing that when I talk to this man from Citizens Media, and we do fight often, I walk away sometimes, and I feel saddened if I hurt this guy's feelings. Those of you that look at my tweets on Twitter know that this is not usually the case with anyone else that I deal with on the left. Only this guy for some reason. It's pretty much not much I can say once you ask me something.
Well, you say you feel bad that you hurt my feelings sometimes, but when that happens, you can maybe not agree, and maybe a little sensitive perhaps, but you understand where I'm coming from.
Okay, for instance, let me give an example. For today, he got a member on the left got a rare apology from me because I DM'd him a response which I threw two conservatives on the response. I felt bad because I put him in an uncomfortable place with my viewpoints, with two people that shared my viewpoints and his opposite viewpoint. I did not feel bad about the content that I sent, and probably will send him that content again. But I was wrong not only to him, but I was wrong to the two conservatives who I also shared that content with. So, I do learn things. I will apologize, but this is one of, and I will not mention his name either, but this is one of the few people on the left that I have apologized to and invented. Now, one of the names that I just gave didn't even want to talk to him when I asked him to talk to him. I think just like Citizens Media wants to find out what Trump people, where they're coming from, I think it's equally important if the left is rational and coherent, it's equally important for us to find out where they're coming from and where they're thinking. The learning curve doesn't just have to be on their side, it should be on our side too.
But what we were talking about this morning was the point that I've been trying to make is that the facts of some of the stuff that you say, like the shooter in Virginia was a Bernie supporter, and some maybe Bernie supporter did that horrible tweet today. I think you don't know, and I don't know if it was truly a Bernie supporter or not, but it was a very blatant, we're going to kill as many Republicans as we can or something like that. And my issue is not that that's horrible, because it is. It's genuinely horrible. They need to suffer the consequences. That shouldn't happen. My problem, as you understand, is that I think it is dangerous to extend that horrible act, and maybe there's 1,000 horrible acts by people who support Bernie Sanders, to expand that to the entire movement.
Okay. No, I understand.
The point of blame who is blamable. Don't add innocent people into it.
Now, I think I did respond to you in some response to this article. My wife is the first one that said it. Actually, my wife said it before she knew what I said to you. I said that during the election, there were things blamed on Bernie Sanders supporters that turned out not to be Bernie Sanders supporters, that turned out to be Hillary Clinton supporters, pretending they were Bernie Sanders supporters. That could very well be the case here. I will give you credence to that argument. What is concerning me, though, is the rhetoric that is going on. The rhetoric is mostly, well, I'm biased, okay, but the rhetoric seems to be coming mostly from the left. Although now,
With the media that you happen to follow.
well, the media that
Your friends and your friends.
Wait a minute. Well, any TV station you turn on, except Fox. I mean, I could turn on CNN, MSNBC. I could turn on, except OANN and Fox, and even Fox. Even Fox is halfway that way. So whatever outlets I follow, I don't find fair and balanced media. I find ratcheting rhetoric. I see heads being held in hands. I see plays that depict the assassination of the American president. I see actors in Hollywood holding guns on fake Donald Trump lookalikes, and I get concerned because I know what's going on. I see the tweets from the right now, too. Not as many as I've seen from the left, but I'm starting to see tweets from people that are saying, bring it on. Okay? I saw there was a Trump guy the other day would have had a Trump flag in his van and his pickup truck, and somebody, we don't know, they didn't blame Bernie supporters, but somebody shot a rifle of bullets at this guy in his truck as he drove by with a Trump flag. This stuff is cannot be accepted, and we got to do something about it. The rhetoric has to come down.
So I'm not defending any of those particular things because I think you have a point with all of them. The head, Trump's head, and all that stuff. I don't support that at all. I think you have a valid point for all of those things. I would say from I don't really like to call myself the left. I don't think you would agree with that. You would consider yourself the left. I call myself a progressive, and what I would say is that yes, there are forces against progressives by Democrats and by Trump supporters, because if progressives get into office, then the Democrats are going to lose their donations, and that's what they don't want.
Well, it's about money. There are certain things that we do agree on, and it is about money. All of this is about money. But I'm not going to mention his name. The other day, my phone needed charging, and I couldn't respond to him when he told me what progressives were. And I did not like reading the term progressives, the progressives and globalists. I do not like those terms. Trump supporters are nationalist populists. We believe in America first. And we believe, the progressives, the Democratic Party, we believe you have abandoned the middle class in this country. The middle class has been totally abandoned.
Progressives have abandoned the middle class?
When you use, I have to say that only.
See, that's the only.
I have the opportunity. I want to mention his name because he would have trouble too, just like I get trouble.
Okay, we do first name.
All right, Ben. Okay, when he said globalist, and he said,
those negatively.
"Oh, you didn't mean them."
Democrats are a bad party.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant that you progressives were globalist.
No.
Oh, well then, okay.
No, that's the point I was making. Is that
Saying that you were.
Democrats, the Democratic Party, the corporate establishment Democratic Party badmouths progressives, sabotages progressives, because they know that if we get into office, they will lose their cushy lifestyles.
Well, okay. Well, it's
So we
good
get
that
it.
you changed that. I didn't think that you said that.
We get it. We get it from the Democratic Party, and we get it from.
This is where you guys and me will never agree.
I disagree with that. Just kidding. Just a joke.
We agree on a lot of things.
That's a joke.
No. I think there's a lot of things we could agree on, but where you're faced with your difficulties, the Democratic Party, corrupt as they are, and I don't know which party is more corrupt, because your party is very corrupt. You guys can't make it by yourselves, in my opinion. You can't take them out. Okay, my guy has got trouble with the crooks in his party, and he probably by himself cannot take him out. I said this to one of you already in the past. Somewhere down the road, you're going to have to concentrate on what is the most important things in your agenda, and we're going to have to come together because they got to be taken out. The bad Democrats and the bad Republicans, if you're standing there today and you're holding 20% of your base or 25% of your base, and I'm standing here today and I could look you in the eye and say we're holding 30% of our base, the Trump people, that's enough to take over.
So I want to say two things. Number one, not to get into the discussion now, we had a discussion before on Twitter, which is very roughly, and I'm sure I have some of it wrong and you'll correct me, but very roughly speaking, I think we generally agree on some of the entitlement programs, but what I understand is that Trump supporters have a big problem of it going to the wrong people. So that seems fair. So that's an example of something that we can at least have a beginning of what we agree on. And as far as coming together, I agree that we need to come together. And what would help coming together is you can share whatever you like with your supporters. I have no problem with that. But as far as shoving negativity about ourselves to us doesn't facilitate us coming together.
To you, it's okay. To you, it's okay.
Yeah, to you, you should do whatever you like within your own community. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying.
But to you, to send you a direct thing. Sometimes you see, you're looking. I mean, you're fair and balanced. I mean, you're interviewing me. You're asking questions. You try to be fair. Okay, but just like I might look on the right, and I try not to look too much on the left, you tend to look that way too. And you might be missing some of these things that I see. So therefore, I give you an opportunity to see them. It's not always to get your goat, although I got to admit to you that I am a Trump supporter, and that means I am a counterpuncher. I do like to do that. But the biggest thing, before I wrap up with you guys, to understand what Trump supporters are really the angriest about is these entitlement programs. You don't hear me. I paid the most in federal income tax that I ever did this year in my life. I paid $18,000 in federal income tax, and I got $600 back. That is for entitlement programs. There are Trump supporters all over the country that are looking at these entitlement programs, and they're not liking them. I mean, yes, give to the sick, give to the people that can't work, but where you and I came to some agreement was maybe you don't have to drug test everybody on food stamps.
Right, I forgot about that.
Maybe the threat of food of that would suffice.
But the concept, what I think we agree on, is that entitlement programs per se is not what the problem is. Entitlement programs not going to deserving Americans is the problem.
Oh yeah,
and as far as the method of how to determine that is something we can talk about, but
Trump supporters have no problems with veterans getting entitlements. They have no problems with the elderly getting problems.
You don't want fraud, so that's another big thing.
No problem at all with American citizens that are in need getting entitlement programs. No problem at all. It's foreigners, people that aren't from our country.
Right.
That's our biggest problem.
So we agree on the concept of entitlements. It's just how do we make it happen so that the wrong people, and we'll have different definitions of wrong people, but how to prevent the wrong people from getting it and how to prevent fraud. Those are the two things. But we can finally agree on the concept of entitlements because some people deserve some of those things. So that's good. So we already had this discussion.
We already had this discussion. You spent too much time with me already. And I got to get you somebody else to talk to. It was very nice meeting you, Ben, and it was nice seeing you again.
You too.
Not mad anymore?
I wasn't mad to begin with. It's all good. It's all good. All right, thanks. I'm out now. Thank you. Wow, 14 people. All right, so I'm mounting it, and I'm going to keep talking to people. I'm putting it on my shoulder mount, so I don't have to hold it so much. I have a hand free, so hold on. Thank you for doing that. Hey, you want to say something? You don't have to. You don't have to. I just wanted to say hi, but I have a camera, so. So, hey, Tothine, you invited me last time. I'm very glad to see you again. It's been nice talking to you a little bit on Twitter. Forgive my little robo thing here. It frees a hand. It's horrible, but it frees a hand. So, so you want to say something?
Do we have everybody's email? Make sure we have everybody's email.
Yeah, I got you, Frank. I got you.
So tell, if you want to say something, say where you're gonna.
I don't really have anything specific to say. Okay, I will say one thing that I was saying earlier. The media, or not just the media, but also Congress, they ignored everything Obama did wrong. He had millions of scandals. Not millions, but Obama had a lot of scandals, and Congress did nothing about it. For one, Fast and Furious, Benghazi, things like that. The media ignored it, and Congress did nothing about it. But with Trump, I really don't think Russia had anything to do with it. But if they did, I think we should thank them personally, honestly. I think we should thank them if they did have anything to do with it. I just don't think they did.
So let me give you a devil's advocate. So you're saying that Obama didn't get enough scrutiny. You're saying that Hillary didn't get enough scrutiny, and I'm not disagreeing. But set that aside just for a moment. Is some of the scrutiny against Trump fair?
No, I don't think so. I can relate to Trump. I know what it's like to be criticized for things that are either untrue or either biased or just either half true and half false. And so I feel like that's happened a lot with Trump. I don't know if you can give me one specific criticism of Trump. I could.
No. I'm asking just a general question.
A lot of things. I'm not going to name anything specific, but everything they criticize him for, it's like. Now, people think that just because there's negative media that it's going to make Trump look bad, but people do not automatically agree with every single thing the media says. Just because the media says something bad about Trump doesn't mean that people are going to automatically agree with it. People see something and they can sometimes actually sympathize with the person the media is talking bad against. So I think that's like when, for example, the very first thing Trump said that the media got on him for, that's what propelled him to become the front runner for the Republican nomination, and he never lost that lead after that.
Let me ask you one last question. So I have my answer for Bernie Sanders, and as someone who's obviously a very strong Trump supporter, everyone here is a very strong Trump supporter, can you say something that you think is genuinely negative about something that he's done or
No.
Not at all?
I really, honestly, I can't. I really, honestly, if there was anything, I don't even know if I would be able to say it. I mean, not that I couldn't, but I just don't think I would. But
so every appointment he's made, every policy, executive order he's pushed, you are happy with all of them.
Yeah, I really do.
Fair enough. Oh, okay, so Ben just said has there been anything that he has not done that you really wish he would do? Like perhaps is the wall not fast enough or...
Okay, some things I wonder, I don't know exactly how it all works, but with, how a judge in, was it Hawaii or something, Washington or Oregon, one of those?
Overturned the...
Overturned it, but what I'm wondering is if he could do an executive order. I don't know how all that works, but I think he could probably do an executive order to maybe overturn that, hopefully. I'm hoping he could do something like that. Like I said, I don't know how that works exactly, but I think that's something worth looking into. If he can do that, that would be good, because I'm very against Islam. And I'm very against Sharia law and ISIS, things like that.
Are there any good people in Islam?
They might be nice people, but...
No. Are there any good people that are in the Islamic religion?
I don't know of any that are very friendly. I've known people that were Muslims. I don't know them very well. Some of them have been polite people. They might be polite people, but what it stands for is evil. That doesn't mean I'm going to be mean to Muslims as individuals. I'll be respectful with anybody, but I do not agree with the religion of Islam at all. I do not like it. I've known what it stands for. I've read about it. I've seen what it leads to all over the world. And so I don't agree with it. I don't like it at all.
All right. Thanks, Tothian. Got a little distracted. All right.
Did you see me? I look around.
And
I don't consider myself a very telegenic person where I look straight at the camera and I talk all scripted.
You do plenty of live streams yourself.
I do sometimes. Yeah, actually I do. On my Tothian page on Facebook. I've done a couple on Twitter on Periscope. Have you used that yet? But Periscope?
Not Periscope only. I've seen through Twitter. I see some Periscopes, but not so much.
I've done them, but I've only got a couple viewers on those. But on Facebook, and when people share the videos, I get a lot more views on them.
I understand there's a service, which sometime I'll get it, which you can purchase a streaming super service where when you start a stream, it automatically starts it on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and so on. But it's a good amount of money. It's like $100 a month or something like that. But if you get more serious, that's
I've seen YouTube live videos like at the conventions, for example, but I've never actually used it. I looked into how to do YouTube live, but I couldn't do it.
I haven't figured out YouTube Live yet. Yeah, no.
I've actually I've done paid ads for my videos on YouTube, or not YouTube, sorry, Facebook, and I've gotten a lot of
Boosted it.
Yeah, I boosted posts.
Have you found success with that? Because I tried it twice and I was disappointed.
When I boosted, I had to target audience very wisely, though. You have to really target your audience wisely. And so there's a lady there who's looking. I'm going to go talk to her, see what she's up to in a minute, or a second. But I've went from 271 likes and followers to about 11,250 about. In a couple
Sorry, so it worked.
period. Yeah, in a couple months.
Thanks, Tothian.
Thank you.
I'll see you around.
Hands up, don't shoot. We're Republicans. Democrats have declared war against America. Progressive liberal
Yes,
Democrats.
Wait.
James Devine. He's from Rahway. He ran
My God, we
for mayor of Rahway and was arrested for stealing from a local Target in Linden. This is his wife or partner, Lisa McCormick. She's running for a Senate seat out of New Jersey. They are no good. Look at what she wrote the day
Oh my gosh.
that Scalise was shot. We want somebody like that
No, I didn't
on
even know their
Senate.
name.
You want somebody like that?
Wait. I think that's really bad. So I don't want to defend that. But this particular thing, I think, could actually be taken
No.
as well.
She's a Bernie Sanders supporter. I know.
Well,
I read
I'm not-
up on
no,
her.
I'm not-
They
I'm
are
not-
connected together. He retweeted that.
I'm not. You may be right. Maybe you'll convince me. But just my first impression of this
Members of Congress.
is my first impression of how I took that was that it is sarcastic, disgusting. That what a way to celebrate Flag Day, shooting members of Congress. That's how I took it. Maybe it's not what she meant, but
You are the company that you keep. She is associated with him. He started this. She wrote that. He retweeted it. Political
So-
correctness only applies to conservatives. Why? Why? If it was a Democrat that got shot and I wrote something like that, my head would be chopped.
I do agree that is too easily misinterpretable.
They are bad for New Jersey. Bad for New Jersey. And you know what? He gets there and he gets on the news and he doesn't want to apologize. He doesn't want to apologize. He sees nothing wrong with what he did. He's using whatever went on with Gabby Gifford and Sarah Palin, which the New York Times said that they quoted that wrong. They quoted Sarah Palin had nothing to do with what happened to Gabby. Nothing. And he's doing that? That's disgusting. That is inciting violence on our people.
I am not defending any of this. None of it. However, I do think that he means it, and it's not that it's a good thing, but that he means it as a sarcastic joke.
No, it's not a sarcastic joke. He is not a sarcastic man. I've seen him on the news. I've seen him on News 12. He is disgusting. He is a disgrace of a human being. I'm sorry. Disgusting.
I'm not defending because I think that is horrible. Whether it's a joke or not, I think that Hunt Republican
Go to
Congress.
jail. You know what? Go to jail. You're going to steal from the targets, and then you're going to sit there and say narcissistic rich people. You know what? Show me your taxes, because I can assure you these two together make more money than my husband and me. So they better put themselves right in the classification as rich people.
I will disclose, I interviewed her when she was running for governor a couple of months ago, or a few months ago, something like that. I interviewed her. I know who they are. I'm not friends with them, but I know who they are, and I interviewed them. So I not excusing what they did. Don't get me wrong. This is not a good thing, no matter how you spin it. But I have a feeling that it's meant as sarcasm. But that doesn't excuse it. That doesn't excuse it because it's too easy to It's too easy to misunderstand,
No.
and you don't joke with the death of
No.
people.
Stop the scalping. You know what? It's okay for you guys to get out there and do stuff like this. Political correctness only seems to apply to us conservatives, not to them. No, he needs to be investigated. He needs to be looked at. I'm done with it. And I'll tell you what, I will make sure that when it comes time for her, I will be against her, and I will make sure that I get the word out. No good for New Jersey. Thank you.
I hope you're okay. I'm not.
Now I know.
I'm not not
I
defending.
know, but I get very angry at
Yeah,
this stuff.
that's fine.
Because when it comes
It's
to
double-sided.
it's double standard. When it comes to a conservative, no.
You don't joke about people being killed. You just
No,
don't.
you
What?
don't.
So even if it is a joke, that it's not. It's just not. That doesn't.
Because there are too many people on
Take
the
it seriously.
far left who take it serious, and they're going to go and they're going to take.
I wouldn't have said the far left, but definitely people who take it seriously.
Okay, people that do take it serious.
Disclosure: we are the far left.
I know you are. I know you are. He told me. But there are too many people that take stuff like this serious. And there is going to be more people getting hurt, and we need to stop this nonsense. Stop it. We're not against anybody. We're not. All right? The congressmen they're trying to work together. Not against people, for people. That's why they were elected.
Would you care to say anything unrelated, like why are you here? Why do you like
Why am I
Trump?
here? Because I love Trump. I love my president. I voted for him. And you know what? He is not the establishment. He is not. He is us. He is up there representing us, not somebody who is up there representing the Congress and the political party. He is representing us. He wants to do things for us. And that's what I like about him. So,
Do you? My honest opinion is that when he says drain the swamp, that when he's referring to politicians who have been around for a very long time. But
I think he's talking about drain the swamp with the corruptness, with the corrupt stuff that's going on.
and do you think that he's successfully done that?
I think he is being blocked in the things that he wants to do.
But what the things that he has done, such as appointing the people to all the.
He's still being blocked on people he wants to be appointed. They're not letting him appoint the people that he wants. There are a few that they have, but I mean, this man has to jump through hoops of fire. I don't really know of too many other presidents who had to jump through hoops of fire the way this man has to.
The appointments that he has successfully done, such as education and so on.
Yes, even those. I mean,
But you're happy with those appointments.
I am happy with those. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, anything else you want to know?
No, I'm going to be here for quite a while. I just want to learn from you guys. So I do openly, honestly disagree with a lot of it, but that's fine. That's I think part of the reason why I come.
But that's good. That's us having political differences without
And then they
violence.
investigate Trump for that.
We
I'm in an
can-
awkward position because I'm not.
Agree to disagree.
But when you say hunt Republican congressman, that's pretty much a violent statement.
Whether it's a joke or not. That's whether it's a joke or
Not
not.
a joke. It's not a joke.
Whether it's intended as a joke or not, it is not something that should be
How
acceptable.
many jokes do we have to go through? Like Kathy Gifford and all the late night comedians, how many jokes, quote unquote, do we have to go through before we understand that it's getting to the heart of sick people?
You don't.
We'll go out and use that rhetoric as an agenda and kill other people. I mean,
Correct.
How many jokes do we have to take before it gets serious?
I think you're right. People joking like this in private in their own home is one thing. Bringing it out in public for.
It's day after day after day after media story after journalists report. It's day after day after day, and sick people can't handle that. They don't know the difference between
What
a joke.
you said? What people? Sick people? You said? I didn't hear the.
Who are a little violent to begin with, okay? And they have that tendency anyway. The journalism and the media people and the late night comedians are giving them an excuse to do what they've always wanted to do anyway.
And do you, who I've heard some Trump supporters say that, in my view, there are good people in every group. There are a small amount of bad people in every group. I've heard some Trump supporters say that the extreme people in the left, I don't call myself left, but clearly I'm on that side.
I would say the progressive.
Progressive, but my.
About a guy that wants to clean the swamp.
I have heard something that has concerned me, which is that Trump supporters have told me that
Wake up, everybody.
the extreme people on the left, such as the shooter in Virginia, such as I think you would categorize them as well, do you think that they are more dangerous than the extreme people in the Trump group or in any other group?
I can say this, that there's more opportunity now because of the late night comedians and media. There's more opportunity and more rhetoric coming from the extreme left. I'm not saying there's no extreme right people. I'm not one of them, okay? Liberals are wonderful people, if you ask me. But the progressives and the extreme lefts, they have more opportunity to state their case through the media than ever before. And we're suffering because of it.
Okay, I would just respond with two things. Number one, my definition of progressive is probably very different than your definition of progressive.
Probably.
And number two is that the left media that you're talking about, the comedians, are such as thank you. The people who make a lot of money from the people who are owned by corporations are not the comedians that represent necessarily my values. They represent the values of what I would call corporate Democrats.
Yeah, but there's also early morning. They call themselves comedians, like on The View. Okay, it's a
on ABC, which is owned by Disney, which is.
Oh, believe me, there's big people up at the top that are my definition of progressives and extreme left.
And
an agenda coming down, trickling down, okay, to the workers.
All I mean to say is that those people don't necessarily represent what my views of progressive.
I'm glad to hear that they don't. But they're still given that opportunity where we are not. You know?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Got a lot to say, Jeff. I'll answer any questions you have.
Yes, sir. Let me our email list, sir.
Put this down for a second.
Join the email list.
Am I standing all right? Or you need a different? Are we too close to the microphones, or? Hello, what?
You can hold.
I want to be an interview without it. No, I don't want to wear it.
We're going to have a protest.
Here, just hold it and tell us.
Am I close enough? I'm Edward. I am Edward X. Young. I'm an actor. I live in Brick, New Jersey, and I also worked for the Trump campaign.
We're going to embarrass them.
I worked for the Donald Trump president. Okay, should we walk away from this? Yes. He's not getting it. There's an interview going on here. I'll start from square one. This should be good. All right. All right. Wait, I'll start from the beginning. Hello, my name is Edward X. Young. I live in Brick, New Jersey. I'm an actor, and I worked for the Donald Trump presidential campaign in Trump Tower for a year as a volunteer every weekend for a year, leading right up to election night. In New York City, yes. I had opportunities and did stop by many of the centers that were in Jersey, but it was much groovier to be in New York, right there, on the spot, where Mr. Trump and his family lived at the time, where you'd frequently see interesting people coming into our office. But now I'm here today, yes. And I'm sure you have questions that you'd like me to answer.
I think you have a lot to say, and when you're done saying those things, then I will definitely ask questions.
Okay, well, I'm here.
Tell us more.
I'm here to support my president. I'll jump at every opportunity to do so because I think it's important. Because I believe a horrifying phenomenon has happened in this country. I mean, we've had our divisions and our issues for a while, and I'm old enough. I'm 57. I'm old enough where I've been through a few elections, and I've been in both parties. Started out my voting career as a registered Republican, and I worked as a volunteer on the Reagan campaigns in high school and in college. But by the early 90s, I changed my affiliation, became a Democrat, and I was a Democrat for 23 years. And I worked as a lobbyist. Yes, I worked as a lobbyist, and I worked for Congress Representative Frank Pallone's campaign when he first ran. And I was involved in a lot of Democratic issues, but over the course of the 90s into the early 2000s, the aughts, I saw some kind of dangerous perversion infiltrating the Democratic Party. I saw a sickness, a madness. I think when it first hit me was in the early 90s when I was working with the Democratic Environmental Group, and the woman managing it was wearing a button on her lapel which said, "I'm politically correct and proud." And I'd never heard the term before. And I asked her to define it to me. And when she defined it, I realized this is inherently fascistic. The term political correctness. You could say it's fascistic, or you could even relate it to like old Soviet Pravda. The truth is irrelevant. What's important is advancing the agenda. If the lie advances the agenda, the lie is more important than the truth. That was the beginning of what gradually led me away from the party. And actually, maybe I'm off on how many years I was a Democrat, but I switched my affiliation. I can tell you the date. I switched back to the Republican Party on May 10th of 2015. which was 3 weeks before Donald Trump threw his hat in the ring. Some people think I went back to the Republicans for Trump's sake, who I really like a lot. I'm here. But no, it was because when I realized that Hillary Clinton was going to be the nominee no matter what, no matter if the majority of Democrats in this country love Bernie Sanders. And let me get this straight. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders' policies, but I've met Bernie Sanders. I've talked to Bernie Sanders. I was a journalist in New Hampshire for many years. I interviewed Bernie Sanders years ago. Bernie Sanders is a mensch. He's an honorable man. I respect the fact that he has different views. I don't agree with his views, but he's an honest, honorable man. And Hillary Clinton is a criminal. And I could not be associated with the party that was going to be represented by owned by the Clintons. And I told a friend of mine who was in the Democratic Party, a longtime friend of mine, an elected official who'd rather I not give his name. He was shocked that I was actually changing my registration. And I told him, I said, I cannot be associated with this. But nevertheless, when Donald Trump decided to run 3 weeks later, it was icing on the cake. Because I also lived in Queens for a while when he first hit the scene, and I think he's a groovy guy. And I think he is the one man who he was the only man who could have saved America from the Clintons. I know a lot of hardcore Republicans, party people, didn't like Trump. Some of them have changed. They didn't like him because they just didn't believe an outsider could come in. But I'm telling you from being on the scene, being in politics on both parties, being a former journalist like yourself. I was a journalist for a while, worked for a newspaper. I knew Hillary Clinton is going to win this election and is going to destroy this country, utterly ruin it. And Donald Trump was the only one. If it wasn't Trump, it would have probably been Cruz. You know, too far to the right. He would not have beat her. He would not have gotten the middle America, the people sitting on the fence. Hillary Clinton would be destroying this country right now. A criminal lunatic would have been running this country.
Okay, so the first thing you made me think of when you first started talking was Joe Rulo.
Yes.
So he's an actor.
Yes.
He ran for governor.
Yes.
Did, I think, reasonably well.
Yes.
Got a few percentage points. So are you familiar with him? Did you support him?
Yes, I voted for Joe Rulo. I voted for him because he was the one Republican candidate that used to show up at these New Jersey rallies. And I said, if you're going to show up here and stand alongside us, I don't know much about you. I'm going to look you up on the internet, and you got my vote. When I read up at him, yeah, I did support Joe Rulo.
We moderated a debate with Rulo, Rogers, and two Democrats that weren't allowed in. We moderated a debate a couple months ago.
Yes.
So you said that there's something wrong with the Democratic Party.
Yes.
What is wrong with the Democratic Party?
The number one issue, the root of the corruption is political correctness. I believe political correctness is the root of all the evil.
What defined political correctness?
Political correctness wasn't invented by the radical left Democrats. Political correctness had a different name at one time. It was invented in the 1930s by Joseph Goebbels with Adolf Hitler's Ministry of Propaganda. I mean, political correctness is saying truth is irrelevant.
Don't piss off politicians.
That's no, but I mean, you're saying truth is irrelevant. Tell the lie to advance the political cause. It's fundamentally dishonest, and it led to the other evils such as identity politics. The identity politics comes in the tail of the political correctness.
What is identity politics?
Identity politics is represented by all these things. I mean, Hillary, this is why Donald Trump won. Donald Trump won because he had a serious agenda. He had a list of things that he stood for. He made it very clear what he stood for. And Bernie Sanders had a list too. Hillary Clinton's entire campaign was based on, I'm Hillary Clinton.
I'm not Donald Trump.
Yes,
I'm not as bad as Donald Trump.
No. I'm a woman, I got a vagina, and Trump is Hitler. That was her whole campaign. What did she stand for? Who knows? It was just that Trump is a monster, and I got a vagina. Won't that be cool? The first woman president. And Trump is going to eat your children, And
Pretty sure that hasn't happened yet.
Of course it hasn't happened. However, I think that following the political correctness, the radical left Democrats, and I don't know where you stand on this, I think they've just gotten into tribalism. It's like, vote for me because I'm a woman, vote for this person just because they're gay, vote for this person just because they're
So not their policies, who they are.
But it creates
a particular quality about them rather than what they would actually do for the country.
This is supposed to be the United States of America, a homogenous melting pot, and the radical liberal Democrats have appealed to voting groups based on their personal tribal identity.
It's almost encouraging ism. racism, sexism.
Yes.
It's encouraging it because you're telling me vote for Hillary because what you're saying, vote for Hillary because I'm a woman, vote for.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what they stand for. It's like vote for me specifically.
No.
Yeah.
It's because what they stand for is not palatable.
That's yeah.
Likely.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you know, I am a former Democrat. People find this hard to believe. I worked as a volunteer in Obama's first campaign. I really thought Kane was a doddering old fool. I thought he would be a horribly incompetent president. I thought his time had passed.
Who? I missed who you said.
Who? John McCain.
McCain.
I thought he would have been a terrible president. I thought his time had passed. Maybe 10, 15 years earlier he could have been president. But by 2007, 8, he was a doddering old idiot, and he would have embarrassed this country. And I thought, you know, Obama, maybe it's what this country needs. You know, we elect a man like Obama. Number one. The rest of the world can't say we're racist anymore. Maybe this will bring us all together. And actually,
you can't say we're racist, but vote for me because I'm a woman. So that's by definition sexist.
Well, that's what it's become.
But
I'm saying I trusted Obama. I trusted Obama in 2008, and I think ultimately in his second term he utterly betrayed us.
I want to ask you something. I'm very surprised to hear that the core of the problem in the Democratic Party is political correctness.
Yes.
Is there anything under that?
Well, in political correctness.
Is there anything that causes it?
Whether the court. Well,
I mean, I have my own opinion here, but I don't want to taint your point of view before.
Probably have a different definition of it.
No,
no, something else tied into the political correctness. It's progressive liberalism, which I think is a poison. That's
okay, but you got to define what that means to you.
Well. The thing is, most people, I mean, don't know. I mean.
Because I call myself, we, and I believe you as well, we call ourselves progressives, but I don't think it's the definite. That's the only label that I get. I don't get leftist, I don't get socialist, I don't get communist, I don't really get that. But I don't think my definition of progressive is what you would call progressive. But
I bet we have a very different viewpoint on progressivism. I mean, for one thing.
Well, not.
Yeah.
I think what we think progressiveness is, I have a feeling is very different.
Oh yes.
But
I'll bet.
But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not saying that any of what you're saying is inaccurate.
Yeah.
But if someone asks me the question of what's truly wrong with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, politics. Money in politics. That may be what you're talking about. May be a symptom of that.
Yeah.
What I forget. You said political correctness and liberalism, which I don't quite understand yet.
Identity politics.
Identity politics.
But what the term progressive liberalism fits into the notion of political correctness. Progressive. It's such a positive adjective. But then you got to stop and ask, progressing towards what? And I know a lot of people who are progressives, and if you ask them what does the progressive stand for, they can't tell you.
We can.
I mean,
but it would likely be different than what others might say.
Well, you could look up the history of the Progressive Party.
Oh, I can just sense the word communism coming some point soon.
The Progressive Party called the Progressive Party, actually started in the early 1890s with Theodore Roosevelt. But there it was a movement. It was on the liberal end to help the working man, to help them get a fair shake, be treated right by the factory owners, get a square deal. But by 1946, after the end of World War II, Henry Wallace took over the Progressive Party and fundamentally changed what it is. We were already at the beginnings of the Red Scare, the Cold War, and the Progressive Party, starting in the 40s, became a safe haven for communists, radicals, and anarchists. And when it wasn't safe to call yourself a communist anymore, you could join the Progressive Party. And I think that what the
see, you're calling it a particular entity or group or whatever, and I'm calling it a philosophy.
I believe, but what are they progressing towards? I believe what they are progressing towards ultimately is globalism, one world Marxism. It's communism, what they're progressing towards.
Okay, so I can't quite defend those other terms.
Yeah.
What I personally want would certainly not do that, but I don't want to get into that discussion right now. But what's wrong with the Democratic Party? I would definitely say, and I believe you would agree with me, is money in politics.
Yes.
Politicians politicians who accept big money donations and want their donations more than they want to help the people. And I'll ask you what...
We're on the same page with that, because in my opinion, what drove me out of the party were the Clintons. And the Clintons are certainly money and politics. They are certainly... I mean, that's
why the Democratic Party is bashing on the progressive left, Bernie Sanders' wing of the party, which is what I am part of, because they know if we get into office, that big money donations will go poof, and their cushy lifestyles will go away. They will lose their jobs, and things will radically change. Whereas opposed to, they seriously disagree with Trump, and I do too in a lot of ways, but they get to keep their cushy lifestyles and their big money donations.
Well, this is what I believe. Maybe we share this belief. We have the Republicans, we have the Democrats, we have the conservatives, the liberals, but what people don't like to address is that there is a shadow government, a deep state. There is. We're not supposed to have it in this country, but there is a ruling class. It doesn't matter what the party is. We all know the Clintons and the Bushes attend the same cookouts, weddings, family gatherings. They're friends. And in a certain sense, like I said, I find myself, I mean, I'm a Trump guy, and I don't agree with Bernie's socialism because I don't think it would work. But I respect Bernie and Trump, and I think both of them represented opposite ends. Both of them represented opposite ends. That they were both smashing the paradigm
in their own ways. Yeah, I agree with that. So
I think if Bernie had gotten the nomination as he should have, I'll talk to you later. I think if Bernie got the nomination as he should have, I think he would have given Trump a serious run for the money.
What does that mean? How specifically do you think how it would have played out?
I don't know. I think it.
I'll tell you. Neither of us can defend our sides because we're just prognosticating. But what would you think would actually happen?
Well, let me tell you. You draw your own conclusions from this story. I was at a Trump rally out in Lehigh, Pennsylvania during the campaign, and there were some college students, a group of very attractive young women that came by just to check out the scene. And it had come to an end. People were leaving, and they came in, and they saw me. I had a lot of Trump gear on. I had a suit, American flag tie, a lot of buttons, the hat, signs. But they actually questioned me, well, how can I be supporting Trump? And they were questioning, do you really think he's going to win? This was getting like into it was like late September, and it was looking like he was growing in popularity. But I was defending my candidate, who did ultimately win. But they couldn't believe it. And a gentleman from one of the major 3 networks, he asked me not to identify him. He was a cameraman from one of the major 3 networks. He said, you mind if I just step forward and say something? And he mentioned his name, and he mentioned he was a cameraman for one of the networks. He said, I've been going to a lot of rallies. And he said, please don't mention me. I want to keep anonymous. But I'll tell you what I've seen. He goes, and I don't even like Donald Trump. And he goes, but I got to admit, I come to these Trump rallies around the country. And sometimes he'll announce them the day that they happen, and he will fill a giant stadium to capacity. He said the excitement here is awe-inspiring. It's like I said once. I said, you go to a Donald Trump rally, it's like the Super Bowl, the 7th game of the World Series, New Year's Eve, Halloween, your birthday, all rolled into one. It's incredible. There's passion. And he said you go to the Bernie Sanders rallies, there is the equal passion. He goes, you go there, it's packed. And he said it's a younger group. And he goes, people are weeping with joy for their candidate. He goes, you go to a Hillary Clinton rally, he goes, she can't fill a high school gymnasium. And
the protests outside are sometimes larger than the crowd itself.
We are instructed not to turn the cameras around and show all the empty seats. He said, and a lot of people are there
because they have all the rules in their favor, Right. So I want to pull you back to my original question.
Yes.
What would have happened if Bernie won the nomination between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders?
I think, in my opinion, I think it would have been a much closer election, and probably Trump would have still won. Because, I've been around this country. I just don't think the heartland of America is willing to embrace socialism that easily. But I bet it would have been a lot closer.
Okay.
Maybe Bernie would have won. Maybe he would have won. But it would have been honest, because he was the man of the people. It should have been Trump against Sanders. That represented the 2 major viewpoints in this country. Nobody wanted the Clintons.
Okay, I think a lot less people would have seen it as socialism than I think you're suggesting. Some clearly would. But I think it would have been one of the biggest blowouts in American history, to be honest with you.
Maybe. Like I said, I believe they would have got a lot more votes.
So do you think? So let me ask sort of the same. Well, that's what I think. Yeah. That's what I think. Okay. So I'll ask you both of those questions in a moment. Last question.
Yes.
Do you think Trump won, or do you think Hillary lost?
Donald Trump won. We do not live in a pure democracy, which is what the Democrats try to claim now. We live in a republic that operates under democratic principles. Alexander Hamilton was among those who formed the Electoral College. The Electoral College maybe needs some tweaking, but it's a good thing, because without the Electoral College, you'd have New York and Southern California dominating the entire country. The rest would be filler states. We wouldn't matter. Donald Trump played by the rules, and he won. Hillary Clinton, in the end, didn't even go to Wisconsin. She was more comfortable getting her ego stroked, going to the areas where she was popular. Let me tell you, we worked on that campaign. We worked hard. We were still calling for get out to vote on the day of the election until almost midnight at Trump Tower before they said, look, go over to the party at the Hilton. And I was happy to be there when he actually won.
Yeah, I think around 10:30 it became inevitable, right?
However, I've got many friends, because I'm in show business, I'm an actor, I got many liberal friends who were for Hillary. And they would laugh at me because they said, you're not even getting paid? You're doing this as volunteer work? I go, yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. Well, I said,
That's the whole point.
I said, what are you doing for Hillary? And their attitude was always the same. I don't have to do anything for Hillary. I mean, she's going to win. I mean, you know, like a film director I work with. Come on, she's going to win. You don't have to do anything. There's no way Trump's going to win. Hillary's going to get elected. She's guaranteed. And so it was the classic tortoise and the hare. We worked hard. And we worked. I mean, I gave every vacation day. I gave every day I could. I worked in the Trump campaign anytime I was not working on my job, earning an income. I was working for the Trump campaign, and I was not the only one. And Hillary just took it easy. Look, you just read it. I chanced upon something amusing. I was moving recently, and I found at my home a Time magazine from late 1992. Bill Clinton had just been elected president. He wasn't even sworn in yet, but Hillary Clinton was the full face on Time magazine. And I reread the articles. I remember I'd read them 25 years ago, and when I read the articles, the arrogance of the mainstream media, and you guys aren't mainstream, but the arrogance of the mainstream media, even in 1992, they were assuming, you know, not only as Bill Clinton won big time, you know, he beat the incumbent president, George Bush the first, but I mean, he's just going to be great. I mean, he's absolutely going to be great. He's going to be the greatest president ever, and without a doubt, Al Gore, the vice president, is going to be the president after him, and he'll be so great for the environment. And without a doubt, in 2008, no question about it, Hillary Clinton is going to be the first female president. She'll follow. I mean, there was just this arrogant assumption that there was that you know, okay, that they. I think the mainstream media believes that the Republican Party died with Richard Nixon. And Ronald Reagan was just an anomaly who came in because Carter was somewhat incompetent. But they truly believed there was never going to be a Republican president ever again. They just took it for granted. Hillary was going to be president in 2008, period, you know. They didn't foresee Barack Obama, and they didn't foresee Bernie Sanders. But I mean that arrogance, that hubris, that taking the public for granted, that we're just a bunch of sheep, morons. That's what gets me so mad too. It gets me so mad. Hillary's claim that Russia, like certainly maybe Russia was trying to interfere with our elections. The Russians did not give the presidency to Donald Trump. Whatever they did to us, hacking the elections, causing trouble, throwing cogs in the works, maybe they wanted to make America look weak, confused, foolish. They did not sway. I don't know. I do not know one person who claims, oh, I was for Hillary until those emails were leaked a week before the election, and then I switched to Trump. Everybody already had their opinion set for weeks, maybe months in advance. Maybe there were a few fence sitters, but I was making the calls, and I have friends on both sides. The media was lying. The polls were lying. I worked for the AC Nielsen ratings at one time. I've had a lot of jobs back in the 80s. I know about statistics and polling companies. You can be corrupt and skew the numbers. He already had it won, but the polls were saying otherwise. Because they just figured, we'll just say Hillary's going to win and she will. People, they were advising people to stay home and don't even bother voting. Like, don't even bother voting for Trump because he's going to lose. But the Democrats are in trouble. And liberalism is in trouble. And I know you guys, you view yourself as liberal or progressive or whatever. Okay.
I agree with Bernie Sanders.
Okay, because I used to call myself a liberal many years ago when they used to refer to, it's an extinct breed, the Scoop Jackson liberal. When liberalism meant helping the blue-collar guy, the working class, it has mutated into something.
You agree that Bernie Sanders, even if you disagree with the methods, I think you agree that Bernie Sanders truly wants to help the working American.
He had an honest agenda. Yes, he had an America doesn't. We see. You look at my lifetime. You see it going back and forth, Republican to Democratic presidents, back and forth. I do not believe the nation radically switches their political views. They vote partially for the views, but partially for the personality. Now, Jimmy Carter was an incumbent president. Reagan won the same reason Trump won, because he had a solid agenda, and you could tell he was sincere and he believed in it. And I'll tell you, when I interviewed Bernie Sanders, I am by nature conservative. I was always a middle-of-the-road liberal Democrat and always leaned a bit towards the right. But I mean, Bernie, you talk to the guy, he's real and sincere. Yes, and you can tell that he believes his vision will improve the country. Hillary, I'd love to, if you're going to close, I'd like to close with this, Going back into the early 1800s, a man who ran for president 3 times and lost. He lost because he wouldn't change his values. Henry Clay. And he was a big abolitionist. They said, Henry, if you don't...
Slavery abolitionist, you mean?
Yes. If you don't lay off, just even if you believe it, just don't talk about it. If you lay off the abolitionist bit, you might win the presidency. But he always made it part of his speeches. It was like the early 1800s, before the Civil War. It was antebellum. And Henry Clay lost the presidency 3 times, and his statement was, I would rather be right than president. But
that reminds me of there's a figure that Bernie Sanders, very important to Bernie Sanders, who was in jail, or I believe, and he said, I'd rather vote for the wrong thing and lose the right thing, rather vote for the right thing and lose than vote for the wrong thing and win.
But yeah, it's true. But Hillary Clinton would rather be president than right. And look at her. What does she really stand for? Oh, what does she really stand for? She's been all over the place. She followed her career. I mean, she's been centrist, and she's been slightly to the right, and then she's been radical left, and back to the. I mean, when she ran against Obama, she was trying to claim that she was the most central candidate there ever was, right in the middle of America. By the time she's running against Trump, she's saying, "I'm the most progressive candidate ever." I mean, well, what are you, Hillary?
She was against. She was involved in the development of the TPP. She was for the TPP strongly, and then 2 weeks before the first Democratic primary debate, she changed to being against the TPP, or at least against it in its current form.
Have you ever seen the movie The Wild One, the motorcycle film with Marlon Brando and Lee Marvin? But this motorcycle, it's made in the 50s. It's a classic. It's a classic image of Brando with the motorcycle cap. But Marlon Brando and his motorcycle gang come running into this small middle America town, and they take over the town. They cause havoc. But the young good little teenage girl that goes to church, she kind of falls in love with the bad boy Marlon Brando. And she asks him at one point when he comes to town, she said, so they say you're a rebel. What are you rebelling against? And he says, I don't know. What do you got? I mean, that's the Clintons. That's Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's like, what do you want me to stand for to vote for me? Okay, I'm for that. And then she'll look. We saw. That's what gets me too. Maybe the Russians hacked in. Maybe WikiLeaks dealt with the Russians. Who cares? The truth is what was in the emails, and it's very clear.
Whether it was stolen, leaked, or not. It's what it revealed was very unpleasant.
She was telling her sheep one thing, and then she was going to Goldman Sachs and saying there are 2 forms of truth. There are 2 forms of reality.
Public.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why she lost. And like I said, Bernie, because I'm with Trump here, I still believe he would have won, but I think it would have been a much tighter race. Maybe we would have
An
ended
honest race, you said.
it would have been an honest race, and maybe we would have ended up in a situation like 2000, where they would have been recounting the votes for a couple of months. And as much as I don't agree with his policies, I believe in America. If he did win, I would have respected him and I would have worked with him. That's what I don't like too. I've been on both parties. I've seen many presidents from different parties in my near 60 years on this planet. It's really getting me very angry that the Democrats are resisting and refusing to work with the president. I mean, we are still Americans, and Trump will be gone in it. One way or another, Trump will not be president 7.5 years from now. One way or another, he'll be gone. I mean, if he gets 2 terms or 1 term, 7.5 years from today, America will be here, and the Democrats would gladly destroy this country just for the sake of making their party powerful again. It's fun that they have become fundamentally anti-American. Let me remind you, when I was a little baby, when I was like 1 year old. I mean, we're talking about the Kennedy and Nixon race was very tight, and there is historical evidence now that even Kennedy had some ballot box stuffing in Illinois, West Virginia, and in Texas, and even the mafia was involved in that. Nixon knew about this, and a lot of his people wanted him to contest the election and drag this on in the courts and outwardly accuse the Kennedy campaign of being involved with organized crime. I mean, whether it's true or not, there were people who were urging Nixon to do this. Nixon decided to concede. He said that would be bad for the country. He goes, I'll run again, and he did. He became president ultimately and then blew it. But Nixon was a big enough man to say, no, I'm not going to tear the United States apart from my ego. And similarly, Al Gore could have pushed it. Al Gore could have pushed it. We had one election in history with the Supreme Court where actually Anthony Scalia decided who was president in the year 2000, decided it was George Bush, because it was 5-4 vote in the Supreme Court, and it was Scalia that cast the last vote. So Scalia chose our president. Al Gore could have contested that, but he stopped because 3 months...
And he would have won.
Yeah, but it was for the good of the country. And Hillary Clinton obviously doesn't see it that way. It's for the good of me. It's my turn. It was supposed to be me. Barack Obama promised if I backed off and let him take it 8 years ago, he was going to see to it that like, why not me? Nah. Wow, tears weeping.
All right, so Ben, you have a couple corrections, I think, and you have some questions.
I guess I just wanted to talk about what's up with liberals. So liberalism starts...
Get close together and hold the mic.
Liberalism starts late 1700s, out of the Enlightenment. Free market, human rights. Nowadays, we call that republicanism.
Oh, yes.
Total free market, but then you get neoliberalism, where they're like, all right, we'll tweak the market a little bit. In the 90s, we saw, through like Gingrich and Clinton, we see the classical liberals and the neoliberals just come together, and they're making their deals together. And we haven't had an option besides, the Republicrat since then. So then you have further to the left of them, the socialists, and further to the right of them, the populists. Mm. That's kind of how I view the spectrum, as liberals actually being total central. And like you said, Hillary will stand for anything.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that liberals who identify as liberals and not progressives and not socialists, they tend to stand for whatever will win them an election.
But liberalism has gone corrupt at the core. That's what the problem is, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Berkeley. Look to Berkeley. Liberalism used to be being, liberal, free exchange of ideas, thoughts. When did liberalism has become fascism? And what's funny is that Ronald Reagan once said that. Ronald Reagan predicted that if fascism comes back, it'll come back and claim it's anti-fascist, which is what is happening. Something has gone wrong with the liberal core. It is now anti-First Amendment. And also, yes, when did liberals also go recently? The liberal Democrats go all Dr. Strangelove on us. For a generation, for 2 generations, they criticized Republicans for being hawks and not getting along with the Russians, and now they are condemning the Republicans for trying to have a peaceful discourse with the Russians. The Russians ain't going to go away. and we don't want to have a war with the Russians. Even if they may be somewhat nefarious, we got to get along with these cats, or it's going to be a thermonuclear war. Who the hell wants that? But it seems like the Democrats want it. But liberalism has gone mad. It's gone berserk. It's become sick. That's why I had to leave them. I mean, that's why I had to leave the Democratic Party and the liberals, because I got tired of seeing other views shouted down, not allowed.
Hey Ben, can you address? You seem to suggest that you did not totally agree that money in politics is the question.
Right. So Jeff is asking that about. I had kind of indicated that I don't think that money in politics is the biggest issue about corruption, and I think it is that fundamentally the Republicans and Democrats, what you would call like centrist Democrats and like rhinos, are the same exact thing, and it's caused problems with our ability to pick candidates because. Like when Nader said that they were the exact same thing, he was actually right. There was not a significant difference between Al Gore and George Bush. Yeah, but you never know what... Like, Clinton was terrible on social issues. That was not the plan, but he ended up being terrible on social issues. And I think it's entirely possible Al Gore would have ended up not accomplishing anything.
You're being interviewed. Okay. No, I'm being interviewed. Seriously.
It's all good. You can talk
Okay.
for a moment.
Just 2 minutes.
What?
They're taking a vote. Town and country and keep
So to me, you have two alternatives to being liberal if you're actually on the left, which would be being a socialist or being a progressive.
But I'm not clear what this has to do that it's not based on money and politics.
So the problem is not necessarily money in politics, but simply that we have one system. You get two different flavors of it, but it doesn't actually change the government. So you
two systems that are the same, or one system.
Because they found that they found that by hanging in the center, they can make a lot of deals together, which is politically...
I think I addressed your issue before. I said, it's common knowledge. The Clinton family and the Bush family are very chummy. Right, yes. They're very friendly. So what are they? They're hanging out together.
They're rich.
They're rich. Like I said, there is a deep state. There is an invisible ruling class of puppet masters that are running the show. And the Republican, both parties have become corrupted, in my opinion. They both have. Trump is not really a Republican.
Okay, I will say that I do believe that money in politics is a cause.
It is. Yeah.
This and I don't understand that, but I have a feeling that that's true as well. But
probably, frankly, if it weren't profitable to win elections, you wouldn't need to essentially borrow the other side's ideas to catch everybody in the middle and just win. 51%. If you have 51% of the vote, you don't have much support.
The multiculturalism in your... Wow, look at all these people with diverse cultures. Whoa.
Wait. I'm a veteran. He does have the right to be here, though. I don't agree with what he's saying, but he does have the right. I don't agree with him, but he has the right to be here.
Did you have a question to ask me?
I'm curious. He's liberal, but we're like him.
No, I just think it's awfully striking that, the multiculturalism, everybody here is just white. It's interesting.
Once again, I want to apologize for them.
It's okay.
You have your freedom of speech.
I do.
But I mean, everybody here happens to be white because they're from the neighborhood. This is kind of like a white neighborhood. I was at a Trump rally in New York last week.
And they were all white, right?
No, they were not.
Really?
You can see pictures of my Facebook page. There were African Americans there. There were Hispanics there. There were Asians there. There was the Gays for Trump group was there. No,
Good. Would you agree? And I don't know. Would you agree that there are less minorities that support Trump in comparison to other?
Look, there were a lot of minorities that support Trump. I mean, let me tell you this much. I recently got a new job, and they teamed us up, and I'm teamed up with a lovely African-American woman, and I was at the new job, and I wore my suit jacket and forgot I had a Trump pin in my lapel. And she looked over at me, and she said, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter." And I was kind of like, uh-oh, she's African-American. I was from Jersey. I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah. And she goes, no, that's great. That's great. I like Trump.
Okay,
yes.
Millions of
I
lives,
like
though,
Trump.
man. Millions of lives.
Can I ask you? I'll be open. I support Bernie
Clinton
Sanders.
Foundation has saved millions of lives.
And they
No.
And
There
they-
is a difference. There is a difference between taking money from governments and using it to provide golf course amenities and clean drinking water to Africa and other. I'm not saying that the Clintons didn't pad their bank account through foreign countries'
They padded
donations,
their bank account
but
through
don't tell
charities.
me that they didn't save lives. Don't tell me that the Clinton Foundation has not done good things. Am I a Bernie supporter? Huge Bernie supporter. I love Bernie. I love Bernie. I voted for Hillary in a big way.
Wait, who did you vote? Who did you vote for in the primary?
Who did I vote for in the primary? Bernie Sanders.
Okay. And who stole the election from Bernie?
Who stole the election from Bernie?
Yeah, because Bernie.
Wait. Let me just ask you a basic question. Do you think the Russians hacked the DNC?
No.
Well, I don't really.
You
know
don't. You don't. You.
I don't really know who hacked the DNC.
They hack our elections.
But
We
here's the
hack their
question.
elections.
Here's the question.
Did
Why
they?
were
They?
like for Hillary? Why was she using an unsecured server?
Do
That's
you
the
think?
question.
I'm not talking about Hillary. Hillary lost.
But that's the
Hillary
question.
lost. This is
So,
the
no, I
resistance
don't
now.
know who hacked
Hillary.
it.
I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton.
And who
But-
hacked the DNC? We don't know.
What do you?
No. 17 national intelligence agencies have came to the conclusion that Russia hacked the DNC.
Nobody
It's
has
a
come
fact
out.
by 17 federal
Okay,
national
then
intelligence.
Well-
how come
I'm sorry if you think I'm such a cynic for taking them at fact. I mean,
How come the special prosecutor hasn't come out and said that?
what special prosecutor Mueller? Right now he can't because it has
How
to be
come
under a
Comey
grand
hasn't
jury. He
said
can't
that?
say anything yet.
How come
Comey
that hasn't-
testified and called the president a liar.
No.
Yes, he did.
Testified. No.
The United States.
We need to rally. We don't need to debate. You're not going to change your mind, and I'm not going to change.
Can I ask you
tell
one more question? One more
I tell
question.
You, I
I'm not-
tell
I'm not-
you why I voted for Trump.
Can I ask you one more question?
I saw
One
the
more question.
protestas emails.
Do you think it sucks that the majority doesn't count?
Let's not waste time with this person. He's not going to change,
Yeah.
and we're not.
Do you think it sucks that the majority doesn't count?
It's not the majority. It's not the majority. How are you saying it's a majority?
Well, Hillary won by 3 million votes.
No, some of them were illegal votes, and they've proven that. No, that is not unfounded. Fake news is what you're saying about Russia hacking the DNC. We don't know that for a fact as of yet. And then he runs away. I don't know.
We shouldn't waste time.
I want to say something real quick, just a little off.
Listen,
On the camera?
Yeah. Could you guys do a quick interview with that Cuban American woman? You went with this other guy.
Yes. As soon as
We'll get
Tothian's
you in a
done.
minute. Okay, I'll be right there in a minute.
As soon as Tothian's done, and then you can tell me who to go. You want to say something on camera?
Yes. When we have these rallies, oh, you want me to hold this? Oh, okay. When we have these rallies, I don't agree with the protesters, but I do respect their right to free speech just as we do. So, I'm a veteran. I don't have.
This is not violent.
Right, exactly. Once it gets violent, I'm jumping in and kicking ass. But as long as it's peaceful, respect.
Nicest with a
Oh, sorry, yeah, let me speak.
That's violent.
Oh, I can't stand her accent. Sorry. Her accent drives me crazy. Sorry. She's a nice lady, but her accent makes me a little like. Sorry. Anyway. Anyway, I had her here for 3 hours, but she's a really nice lady. I don't want to say anything bad about her. Okay, so. Oh, sorry, Frank's talking too, but I just want to. Sorry. Anyway, so I lost my train of thought. I get distracted real easily. So anyway, yeah. Right. So, the protesters, if they're peaceful and respectful, I respect the right to come out here.
Is he peaceful and respectful?
He was peaceful at first. He came. It was us that were actually cursing him out and telling him he's not allowed to come here. I don't agree with that. I think he does have the right to be here just as we do, and I'll defend his right to come here. I may disagree with him. I'll debate with him. I'll discuss with him, but we're gonna scare people away if we're being rude to people. Anyone who disagrees. I mean, if they're rude with us, I'll be rude with them back. He got a little hostile, but to be fair, they're yelling in his face, telling him, and I don't agree with that. If you support Trump, think like a vet. I'm a veteran. I was in the Marines, and it's not just defending free speech when we agree with it, because we're always talking about free speech and the First Amendment. If we respect the First Amendment, we have to respect the First Amendment, even to the people that we disagree with. So that's all I have for that.
Thanks, Tothian. Would you care to interview this gentleman that Gary wants to be interviewed?
Yeah, I can do that.
That woman right there, you can. Cuban American.
Introduce us.
All right, come here. Rosario. What do you like to be called? Cuban American or American Cuban?
American Cuban.
American Cuban. I'm not going to give you their names. I like you to
Jeff
think
and
about
Ben.
following them. What?
Jeff and Ben, Citizens.
Jeff and Ben from Citizens Media.
TV.
They are on the
Citizens
left.
Media
What
TV.
outfit?
Citizens Media TV. I said
What
it wrong.
outfit is that from where?
But if they're
from where?
from
I
South
never heard of
Jersey.
it. Never heard of it.
But listen, you talk to them, and they'll ask you questions. Be polite to them. They're on the left, but but
I'm not like that guy.
all
right,
that
listen.
guy was really crazy.
I
He was
came-
supposed to go down here. The cops always let them. They can protest with us. They have the right, but the cops always separate them. My problem with him was he got right in my space with that F Trump sign when he could protest here, but he cannot protest with us.
Do you guys have a permit?
Yes.
Yeah, so technically he can't be here
Right.
because he's
We
not
know
on your
the
permit.
Hazlitt, Middletown police know we have the right,
Right.
to be here. That man was totally wrong. But here, Rosario, talk to Jeff and Ben.
So
Okay.
Gary wants us to say hi. So I'll be open. Both of us are Bernie Sanders supporters. But tell us why you're here. I actually call Gary a friend, and I think he would say the same about me.
I came here in 1962. I am Cuban of origin, but I am a naturalized now. Okay? I escaped communism. I lived communism. Okay? The left. Okay? And basically, they shoot out all these beautiful arguments why the left and socialism and communism is good. But basically, what it is a more elite class of people on top. The government is this little elite group of people, like the Castro brothers. They don't allow freedom of speech, okay? They don't allow voting, and they indoctrinate since the kids are. I lived it. I was there. My father was a self-made man. Nobody gave him $1, a penny, a peso, okay? He was poor, and he made himself not rich, but comfortable. Castro came, he told us lies, okay? Just like Obama said, okay? We're gonna change everything is gonna be great, everybody's gonna be, democracy, etc., etc. A year within him taking over, within months of him taking over, he was killing his foes. Anybody who opposed him, just verbally, okay? Just verbally, okay? He would shoot them. It was called El Paredón, the wall. It was a concrete wall called El Paredón, okay? They would conduct a 3-ring circus. They would conduct a 3-ring circus trial. You know what that means? A 3-ring circus, what I call a 3-ring circus trial. The military were the jury and the condemners, right then and there, to the wall, firing squad. I was there, okay? I came here in '62, so I saw enough. Within a year, after he killed off a lot of people that were his opposers, okay? Within a year, he got on the podium and he says, that's it, I'm communist. He sold us a bill of goods. He lied. He is an analogy that I'm trying to explain to the Americans, and they have not experienced it, and they're playing with fire. Right now, in America, they're not using a revolution on the streets yet. It's too hard in America because it has been cemented in our brains to be civil, to use the laws, to go to court, okay? But one is happening more and more, okay? And what is happening here is a coup, a silent coup. They're taking over the centralized government, the federal government in D.C., all the administrative agencies, such as the EPA, the Department of Education, They are changing their laws to influence the states. Take it, and basically, more and more they're grabbing power. That is a centralized government. I'm warning you guys. It's a centralized government, like in Cuba. And who are the ones that tell you what to do every day? The centralized little elite set of people that are in power, and they will not let go. They are a different type of dictatorship. Dictatorships do not give up power. They're also exporting, they have been also exporting communism to South America.
So what do you do for a living?
I am retired now. I worked here all my life. I was a nurse.
Excellent.
Okay? And I love this country. And I am very grateful to this country for the opportunity to live free up until 8 years ago. When that man got on the podium and said, I am hope and change, I said, oh boy, I can smell it a mile away, okay? Then I checked his background, his associations, the same story as Castro.
Who?
Obama, 8 years ago or 8.5 years ago, okay? He had all these narratives, rhetorics, you know, hope and change and all of that, okay? Is that enough, or does that?
I have some more questions. Were you ever part of a union?
I was part of a union, yes, and they didn't do anything for me. They took my money every month. No, in America. And it was forced. It wasn't because I elected to be in there. If I joined the job, I had to have the union and pay the dues. Now, I don't mind if they do good for the people. It is good to do good for the people. But in the name of doing good to the people, they are manipulating and they are really using your money. Now we're talking about unions, right? Okay? They're taking your money and they're using it for political activism. That's not what I gave you my money. I also knew my boss, my political boss, okay, of the union, who lived very, very well. Nice cars, okay, and didn't do, when I got in trouble, they never did a thing for me, okay? So they don't fight for you that much, okay? And it is really, it has changed, transformed from something that was supposed to be in the early part of the 20th century, you know, the good idea about protecting the workers and all that. That's all very nice, it all sounds great, but what happens is when the people take over, you know, you vote and they take the power, they change the rules on little people like us, okay? So basically, we are like their little slaves, okay? Because we have to pay the taxes and they use the money of the taxes to do all these programs. And one way that you keep people down is by giving them stuff, not letting them be self-reliant. When I came, okay, my family had to support me. I didn't get any freebies, and I came legally, okay? And once I was able to go on my own, I always had to work, and if I ever had the need of a little help, as soon as I could get on my feet, I get out of it, okay? So it is good to have programs to help to get you over, okay? Not to keep you generations and generations on the take. And that actually makes people dependent. And now they're going to vote for whomever gives them the money, and it takes their self-reliance and self-respect, okay? They don't maybe not recognize that, but it does. That's the effect, the psychological effects that it has on people, okay? And right now, if you look at a website that is put out by the government agencies, not by me, not by a Republican, not by any, you know, fake person, okay? It's called usdebtclock.org, okay? usdebtclock, you know, debtclock.org, okay? It's put out by the Labor Department, by all these other agencies of the government. Okay, you will see how our national debt, okay, is going, I mean, at a speed that you can even hardly, you see the numbers, the tickers going like this. 20 trillion. When Obama took over, he slammed the Republicans and everybody else before him about how we're living on a credit card, okay? No sooner he took over and he started spending like there was no tomorrow. Remember about the ready jobs? Do you remember that, how he promised that there were going to be ready jobs? Nothing happened of that. What happened is the locals took the money and wasted it. And that's what happens with the bureaucracies, centralized government, federal government, okay? And what I see happening here every day is, why elected? I instruct myself. I educate myself. I read the emails that Podesta put out.
This microphone works pretty well. You can talk to.
Yeah, okay. I'm maybe here, may not listen. Well, what I was saying is that nobody pulled the lever for me, okay? I pay attention to politics, okay? Because of my background, I am more into it. And I saw what is happening here, and I don't want to lose this country. If you lose the United States of America and it becomes another banana republic, another third world country, another socialist controlled by the bureaucracy, you're basically, the people that thought they were going to really be powerful are less powerful. Regulations, impositions, accusations, innuendo. That's what's going to be, okay? And so therefore, I don't want to lose this country. I love it too much. You know, I'm loyal to this country now. Okay, I see what is still happening in Cuba. There is people in repression still. They still go to jail. They still have hunger strikes. And worse yet, since Castro been in power, he's been exporting this type of regimes to South America. Go look at what's happening in Venezuela. Maduro in Venezuela is very friends with Castro and takes a lot of information and help and leadership from that communist regime, okay? Brazil has influence even though they're trying to get away from it. I think it's, the other one is Bogota, no, not Colombia. Colombia a little bit, but there's another, I cannot remember right now. They are getting in trouble, okay? And Cuba is poor. Why is poor? They have not shown that socialism and communism work. They've had 57 years to prove us with the same regime. Who's in power now? Raúl Castro. The same regime, the same ideology than Fidel and all of his underlings, okay? We used to have cane sugar was our main agriculture. We would sell it to the United States. Our peso was equal to the dollar, okay? And now it's garbage. They have to depend on tourism. And who do they, give the tourism to? To the people with the dollars. And who do you think is taking the money first? The military. It was even said yesterday, and I've been telling that to people. This opening of relations, because it's going to change. It's not going to change anything. We're giving the military more money, okay? And that's how they survive. Cut it off. Don't give them anything, okay? And don't promote anything with them. It's only if the people were to really, enjoy it, and they're not. Because every dollar that gets into that country, they take at least 55%. I know too. I talked to a nurse in a Caribbean island who was allowed to go out on a special program. Why? Because she makes a lot more money than they could ever do in Cuba. You know what is the average salary? $20 a month. You know who's the main employer? The government. Castro's regime, okay, is the main. And all they can pay, and they don't even have enough jobs for the people. This is why they're in misery. So this woman nurse went to St. Kitts because she could make about $1,200 a month, which is a fortune for them in Cuba. Maybe not for the United States as a nurse, okay? And she would have to send well over 50% or 55% to Castro. And what was the hold? Her little child, her baby, was at home in Cuba, and her husband. And that's the anchor, okay? So I am telling you, guys, you are playing with fire. Sanders talks a lot with his mouth, but you want to know something? He just made $1 million. They don't tell you that. He has 3 homes, and he has never worked hard for a living on a job. He went from school or whatever he graduated to being government. And now government is a laughing stock now because people just take it to become rich. Nancy Pelosi, she was just a mere mayor of San Francisco. Now her husband is laden with millions of dollars, okay? They filter, they talk and talk, just like Castro. Underneath, they're conning us, people. They're taking us for a ride. They're selling us a bill of goods, I'm telling you.
So what do you think of socialist programs like Medicaid or Social Security?
No, what I think is they really need to implement a real free market, okay? A real free market, not a supposed to so-called free market, okay? In a Midwest, I forget now, town, okay, state, recently I found out, and I don't remember the names now. This doctor made a cooperative. This is free market, mind you. He made a cooperative doctors. And now you, for $50 a month, can get all your essential benefits. And they can also have a program for at risk. But it's not fair that if I have a problem, all of a sudden I can say it's insurance. Insurance is spreading the risk, if you know what I mean, okay? So insurance wasn't supposed to, okay, I have a problem with my hip, I'm gonna go join now. That makes it more expensive to everybody else. Everybody, if they want to have insurance, let's do associations, let's do cooperatives, like I told you, the lab. And this is being explained backwards and forwards, okay? So I'm not making this up, okay? It is fantastic what these doctors, they got together, they deal directly with the insurance companies, the medical insurance companies, and they lower down the prices, even x-rays, labs, for pennies sometimes on the dollar. So extremely affordable for everybody. So you can have a medical insurance right away, and you don't have to wait until you have a real problem and then join an insurance. Okay, you know, and if you have a one-payer system, my brother was in Germany, and he became a doctor in Germany years ago. He told me how hard it was. That was it's a socialist country. How hard it was to make ahead because of the socialism. Okay, a socialized medicine. Okay, which is what is one-payer system. Even Medicare is in trouble. Okay, our Medicare is in trouble, and that's a little, example of centralized medicine. It's only for the elderly, okay? So anyway, when my story with my brother, okay, he put a lab. He was able, he got married to Germans, he spoke the language, became a citizen, a total upstanding citizen. He put a lab there to do tests, okay? It was a doctor for pathologists. And the regulations were killing him to the point that even though he was somewhat successful, they were taking so much money. It took the incentive off of working this hard, and all the rules and regulations, the employees demanding and putting demands on him and all of that, he had to get out. And he told me, in general, from every dollar that you make, at that time, and this is decades ago, okay, in the early 2000s and before, they take 55 cents for every dollar you make. I don't think that is right, okay? Why should I bust and right now as retired, I have to pay a lot of money too. I'm not, living off of my retirement. I still, from my pension, I have to pay, okay? And I have to pay a great deal. So you guys don't understand what you're dealing with, and Sander is a con man, okay? He himself is a rich person. Why don't they give their money if they are really for the people? Why don't they all give their money to the people? Give it, really give it. It comes in, pay your bills, the rest goes to the people that are in need, the people who are poor, that he's proclaiming to be, for and support. The same thing with Obama. He's making now, going to make $60 million. I think he's a hypocrite, just like I said, elite social communisms. They talk, they tell you, they sell you a nice story, and then behind your back, they act exactly as elitists. And I am not for corporations that are pariahs either. So don't think that that's what I believe, okay? But I also don't think that a corporation, I can form a corporation right here now. I go to the website, I fill it out. A corporation doesn't always have to be this humongous entity, okay? You can form a corporation with $1 or whatever. I don't remember exactly now. So a corporation that is truly valid and legal and upfront, if they make money, they should not be paying for every dollar that they have in income that is taxable, not gross income, but the ones that's taxable, okay, they should not be paying, 40% now, 38%? That's ridiculous. We're not competing with globalization, okay? So, what else? Anything else?
What do you consider to be the main difference between if I pay the government and they take care of my insurance versus my employer withholding from my paycheck the same exact amount so that
choices.
They can pay for it?
When I was in that situation, I could have choices. And if I didn't want to have maternity, I didn't have to. If I didn't want to have,
what if you had needed that as an emergency? Then the government has to pick up the tab.
No, that same insurance would have provided. But you want to know something? I can go to the pharmacy and get a lot of crap for very cheap. Okay, a person needs to start also taking responsibility and pay for something. Okay, just like you have to pay for your food. I mean,
well, but when you pay for it as taxes.
When I pay for it for what?
If you're paying for it one way or another, you're either paying out of your payroll as buying insurance, or you're paying out of your payroll as taxes. Either way, you're paying money to somebody, and your insurance gets taken care of.
But that goes back to the central issue that I was talking about of centralized insurance or universal insurance. That's what Germany had. And I'm telling you, in Canada, for example, a lot of people, they're sick and tired of waiting. That is the difference. If you have a good insurance, and I'm talking about the truly free market. What we had before did need correction, okay? Nobody said, I never said, in all my discussions and everything else, I never said what we had before was perfect. What we needed to do was work to refine it and tweak it, okay? Let's make cooperatives, let's make associations, let's make savings accounts.
Okay, I'm going to ask given your experience in Cuba, what would you say to Americans going forward, maybe in the next election?
What I'm saying is that the direction that I see every single day, the innuendo, the lies, nothing confirmed. This is a coup that is being, levied against Trump. Trump was duly elected. The system here is the Electoral College, not the popular system, okay? And it's precisely because the populace can be swayed emotionally one day for this, one day for that, and you would have chaos. It happens in other third world countries. So the Electoral College, he strategized very intelligent towards that goal, okay? And that's why he won. He went to the states that he needed. not to New York, where he knew he was wasting his time, where he knew the popular people were not going to vote for him. He knew in California, who's overpopulated, he was not going to win there. Did you ever see him conducting a lot of rallies in California? Did you see him conducting a lot of rallies in Oregon? Did you see him conducting a lot of rallies in New York? No. He went to the mid-states and where the working people have been forgotten, okay? And that's where he won, okay? And that's where he won. And this theory and con game that the Democrats and the left is trying to say against the electoral college that he didn't win. He went fair and square. I called my New Jersey Commission of Elections and I asked them, is my voting machine connected to the internet? Because I've been hearing rumors that it's going to be, get it into. I know. So he's telling me, no, never connected. It's put on DVD. We take it ourselves to the counting, okay? So what I want is to Trump be allowed to prove himself, okay, as best as possible. He's not going to get, we're never going to get anybody who's going to do everything perfect, but he's the best that we've got. I want the freedom and I want free capitalist society. I want you as an individual, if you feel tomorrow like starting a business, not have a mountain of regulations that's going to interfere with your life and it's going to make you a dependent person, okay? And we're not going to get it the way we're going. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. See you at Town and Country. Okay.
Thanks for talking with us.
All right.
Thank you. See you later.
I'm telling you from a person who lived communism. They came to my house. They took my father's second car. He was a very resourceful man. He never had a lot of extras. And when he got the second car late in his life, they just came to the house. I'm telling you, the militia just came and said, they call it intervention. They took it, and you cannot do a damn thing. We had a little place on a beach, nothing fancy, but my father loved it. He went fishing. We would go spend the whole summer. They came, the militia, Castro's militia came and said, we're taking. They took the boat, a little boat, it wasn't anything magnificent. 6 months later, it was dished. My father would take care of it like his child, and it was dished in the water. 6 months later, they don't care. If you don't earn it, you don't have the feeling, okay, for it, okay? And they took, made himself a lawyer. Oh, I didn't know you. I'm just telling you. He made himself a lawyer on his own effort. Nobody gave him anything in the Depression. And they would barter, and they would give him chickens for his legal advice. They would give him land for his, so he had a little ranch. They came and they took it, okay? How would you like it if you had a second car and whomever is in power comes and takes it from you and you have absolutely no defenses? You cannot go to any court, you cannot scream, you cannot do anything, okay? You gotta eat it up, okay? And just like froze his money in the bank. Batista, on the other hand, even though he was a disgraceful criminal, if you didn't interfere with politics, he left you alone. And I'm not saying that that means that he's good.
It's not safe anymore here. We got to go.
I'm really sorry, but we have to go as well. But thank you for talking with us.
To wake people up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Experience with us.
I'll see you at Town and Country.
So take us out, Gary.
What's that?
Take us out.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming from Citizens TV Media.
Citizens Media TV. You've known me for like a month now.
I forget. Citizens Media TV. As again, you just had Rosario, my great friend from the extreme right, speaking to Citizens TV, Media TV, Citizens Media TV. I'm old, I forget. And anybody that wants to look at this, they should look at them at Twitter. Follow them. I recommend that people follow them. We should, just like they're trying to find out how we think, we should find out how they think. These guys are rational. A lot of the people on the left are not. So let's listen to the rational ones. Let's see if there's some room that we could come to agreement. I don't wish to piss off my friends on the right, I'm not weak. I haven't changed.
Disagree on most stuff.
We disagree on most stuff, and just because I'm nice with these guys doesn't mean that I don't trash people on the left pretty much every single day. I just can't fight with these two guys, and I hope you will give them the same respect that I do. Thank you very much.
Gary, thank you very much, and we will see you hopefully next time as well. All right, so we're... All right, so thank you very much for being with us. Ben, thank you as well. People have left. They're gone. So I'm guessing it's at least 4:30, and we will hopefully be at another one of these in Burlington County sometime in the future. And this is our second one, and thanks for being with us. Share it around. Thanks. Bye.